Happy Wednesday, everybody. Patty, can you bless us with the French accent? What's the French accent?
Bonjour. 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 That's all I know.
Girl. Well, again, Patty is blessing us from somewhere far this time. So Jade was in France last time, tapped in, middle of the night. Patty is now in France today, and this is just a few short days after we were all in San Francisco at the Relationship Rich party. How are you recovering, Patty? What is going on?
It took a minute. I'm recovering, but I am a living, breathing example of execution. And when Lady J told me, she checked me basically on live YouTube and was like, you need to learn how to relax. So I was like, you know what? You're right. And I'm going to go ahead and go to Saint-Tropez. And I did. And here I am live from Monaco with the Pellegrino in my hand. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour.
Hey.
Relationship Rich was lit. If anyone is watching that was there, thank you for coming. It was an incredible experience. People are definitely calling it the party of the year because we make the event all about connection. It's not about business. I had so many people asking me if there was going to be a panel or if someone is going to be speaking. I'm like, no, we're just letting our hair down. And I'm excited. I was extremely nervous. I was a very nervous wreck. And despite shopping for 4 months prior to, I completely regretted my outfit choice for the second time in a row. So we'll see what happens next time. So just had to get that off my chest.
You look so cute, though.
No, it was fabulous. I was looking like a black swan ballerina, and I'm looking at all the pictures like it looks so puffy. But you didn't even get to see all the fruits of my labor of all my hard work. I should have worn something more fitted, but anyway, whatever.
And you yelled at me last time saying last year's outfit was too booby, and I said it was. You know what? I can't. That's okay.
Bonnie did say she thought you were going to have the girls out.
I did.
Right. And I try not to. I don't think people understand when you have them, it's not like you're doing it on purpose. Nothing fits. Okay. So unless you get something that's more open, nothing fits up here. And it's half the reason why I look, like a BBW. Okay. It's busy up here. Anywho.
That's hilarious. I don't have those problems. So
I was about to say I'm a part of the little itty bitty committee. Yeah, I don't know nothing about that. Well, welcome back, everybody. We are back for That's What She Said Wednesday, and it's a busy week. Before we even get started today, I just have to make this announcement up front because I have 2 brain cells left in my head, and I don't want to forget this later. And that is that Jade and I have an event coming up. So if you are in the Dallas area, DFW area, or even if it's drivable for you and you are in real estate or you are a builder or a developer or in some adjacent industry or role, you are going to want to come to the Diversified Development Summit Dallas. That's diversifieddevelopmentsummit.com. It is Friday and Saturday of this week, and we only have a wee bit space left, especially for the VIP. So if you are near or far, and this is of interest to you, you need to come out. We're bringing together some of the brightest minority and diverse developers across the country, talking about revitalizing our communities, controlling the land, and making money. So did I forget anything, Jade?
Nah, we really like the making money.
You got a crazy lineup, though.
The lineup is crazy. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Kehlani, put her foot in the lineup. We have people flying in from all over the country. Like, when I say heavy hitters, I was like, look, these people are Googleable. You can Google these.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so funny.
You know what the best thing is? The real lesson that you guys need to learn is that when Kehlani picks up the phone, people show up. Don't play with Kehlani.
Don't play with me.
Don't play with me.
You heard what she said. Don't even play with me today. You know what? Okay. And you know what's so funny about saying that is like I was missing a couple people's bios and I was working on something yesterday. And so I was going to Google some people because everybody is Googleable. You can find it all online. And the suggestion after almost everybody's name that I Googled was net worth. Whoever net worth. I was like, this is crazy. So
that's what people Google them for. So it's going to show up.
Yeah. That's what people are Googling for. So my brain has been very distracted on this event. And so with a lot of us being very event centric this week, last week and this week, Patty had a really great thought. And she really just she talked about keeping things super, super simple. And so just like with her event, there was no panel, there was nothing crazy going on, nothing over the top, but you created space for human connection by keeping it simple. And I think a lot of times we overthink a ton of things. I mean, when I thought about keeping it simple, I'm like, what prevents us from keeping it simple? And for me, that answer is overthinking. It's super, super evident for me. So Patty, what led to this thought process for you this week? And let's get into it.
Well, Nasima did, because Nasima launched a very successful webinar. I was looking at it because it's always interesting that when you're posting on social media, if you go on there, act a fool, which you kind of do sometimes, Nasima, with your little dances and whatnot, you get all this play, right? Everybody's sharing it, everybody's commenting. But when you post an event, you don't get the same amount or like a review in my case or whatever, right? And that's just kind of the nature of social media. But I pressed the comments and everybody was just like, send it, or whatever that simple word was that you had going. I was inspired by that. And I thought, let's start with you giving us a recap of your webinar, because you were talking about investing hella simple. And one of the things that I think is so impressive about you, it's something Jade told me when we were together in San Francisco. Those words really, really pierced me. And it was somewhere along the lines of giving people permission to be themselves, because we are openly very real about being humans. We're not out here portraying this image of being larger than life. And I think you really do that successfully within your community. And so give us a recap of the webinar, what it was about. And I think essentially I want to take away from this some fundamentals for our listeners about why we complicate the basics, why those basics are so important, and also how not to be swayed by the volatility that we experience in our life, in our headlines, when we look into our bank account. And how is it that you keep it simple with the fundamentals, keep it consistent with the fundamentals, and also not allow different points of volatility to sway you and take you off your square, essentially. Like, you stay on the path. So talk to us about that. Give us the recap and then give us the mindset.
Hey, thank you for all of that. But yeah, so my workshop was called Hella Simple Investing, because I used to think that investing needed to be crazy, because I equated investing with wealth. And because I didn't have wealth and I was super smart, I had all the education, I had all of the things, I just thought that it was a level of expertise that I hadn't grasped yet. So when I determined that I am going to understand how to build wealth, I really thought I was going to have to dive into like a PhD level of coursework to understand how money really works. Like, for me, I thought the only way to really get rich was if you were scamming somebody or if you were born into it. And I had never kind of seen this other path of people generating wealth just from having a 9 to 5 and being able to save enough money to not have to work forever. So all of these concepts were really new to me. And so I just dived in head first. And once I dived in, I was like, wait, that's it? Like, this is all you have to do? Like, why is this information gate kept? And then, I learned that the only people that benefit from making things complicated are the people who benefit from getting paid from it. And so if people make it seem like you have to go to them for this advice, then they can charge a premium for it. And typically people that are able to pay those premiums aren't your average people. So it's only a certain amount of people that have access. And I'm definitely a person that all of my life has been about increasing access. I grew up in West Oakland. I was raised by a single dad. And I felt like a lot of things weren't available to me. But, I always strove to do the best that I can to, you know, get the highest grade so that I can get into the top rated schools in the country, the colleges in the country, and, climb that corporate ladder, because I always knew I was an outlier. However, I knew that there were a lot of people that weren't afforded opportunities just because they just didn't know. And so my mission has always been each one teach one. If I have access, I'm bringing you along with me. If I have knowledge, I'm sharing that with you. And that's essentially why my platform was created. But it was, my platform initially was about paying down debt. And then I discovered the FIRE community, and FIRE stands for financially independent, retire early, heavy on the financial independent part. And retiring early is just another way of making work optional. And I didn't discover this until I was in my mid 30s. And I was just like, why aren't we like taught these things, these fundamental things that change our trajectory and change the way that we move in our lives, so that we're focused more on, you know, um living in our purpose. And it's not about frugality, it's not about um like even the wealth per se. It's about really creating a life by design that money is now supporting, right? And so I started really learning about what investing was, and learned that if you do some really, really simple things, you can set yourself up for success no matter where you're starting from, and put yourself in a position to be able to be financially independent in 10 years or less by doing these simple things. And so I share that for
So
free.
let
Yeah.
me stop
Mhm.
you. Okay, let's
Mhm.
break it down a little bit. We want to keep it simple. So sometimes you see this someone posting on the internet, or someone talking about how their investment account is now worth $1 million, and that $1 million is a big mountain, and you're like, I don't. How am I going to climb that mountain? I'm never going to do it. Forget it. I don't want to do it. Right.
Mhm.
But what you don't know is that that person started putting away $100 from every paycheck 25 years ago, and the
Mhm.
power of compounding interest got them to $1 million. Right.
Mhm.
So what we're trying to talk about, and I think maybe what you may have conveyed to your community with your webinar, is that you, as a wage earner, even if you're not self-employed, you should not just be thinking about saving for a rainy day. You have to put in your budget a very simple deposit that can go towards an investment account that will build up over time.
Yeah.
So so tell me about what that looks like, because you posted something that showed this is why I don't react when my account goes from 500,000 to 490,000. There's a
Mhm.
$10,000 loss in one day. So talk us through the fundamental mindset of, okay, so we're established that wage earners can put aside a small amount of money, the compounding interest, and what's the mindset? What do you go through? What are you teaching your community about how to look at that volatility and not overreact to it because of the simplicity of the fundamentals?
If you understand how market works, you understand that the reason why you get high interest rates is because you have to be able to sit through the volatility. So anything that is going to have a little bit of a higher payout is going to have a little bit of risk, so to say. But if you understand how the markets work, you know that um, markets are 77% more likely to go up than to go down. And if you look at um, the US stock market, since the inception, you know that it's going to go up. And anytime we have recessions, market crashes, all of those things, even if you look like back recently, just actually this year, because it just happened a couple of months ago, those little blips literally just just are little ticks, and then it just keeps on climbing. But I had to learn that, and I had to understand that when you are investing, you don't necessarily lose money unless you pull out of the market. And so
Well, it's
investing is
not
about time
necessarily.
in
You don't lose. You don't make
mhm.
money or lose money until you sell, right? That's
Right.
the
So yeah, and
underlying gift. Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
important.
not it's about time in the market. It's about making those $100 deposits
Hold on now,
consistently.
not timing the market. It's about
Time
time in
in the
the market.
market.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Not
So
exactly.
can
Mhm.
I can I pause you for a second? I'm gonna pause and like really rewind so that the audience understands what type of investing do you do specifically?
So my investing that I specifically do, like I have a house, I have all of those things,
Right.
but what I teach people is how to invest in the stock market and how to understand how to be an investor. Because if you have a 401k at your job, you are an investor, and you need to understand that that money is in the stock market, and then you need to
Whew,
understand
that's a word.
where that money is going, and like the fees that you're paying on it, what you're investing in, and that you have control over that money. You have control over the fees that you pay. And if you understand it, it's not really hard. But you just have to have somebody kind of like break it down to a level that you can understand it. And once it's broken down, it's like something that you can't unsee. It's just like, oh, this is it. Like, okay. So just laying it out plain. What is the stock market? How do you invest? Like not going for those the advice your cousin gave you, that tip your coworker is talking about, what they're
Listen,
talking
you're
about
not
on the
investing in his
news.
barbershop for the fourth time, okay? Relax.
Come on now.
Relax, cousin.
You're not giving your drug dealer boyfriend $100,000 to flip into 200 overnight. Okay.
Right.
Well, so I have a question then about this. First of all, like I think people who are novice and really green when it comes to investing in the stock market, which is completely me. I know real estate. That's the only thing that I know. I don't know anything else.
Yeah.
And I think there have been a lot of people who have this idea or thought that if they invest early enough, or like you'll see these trends, right? There's this guy that asks Chat GPT every single day, what's a good penny stock to invest in? Or people are looking for those companies that are going to just like strike gold at some point, or investing super early, not realizing that a lot of new businesses fail and fail and fail and fail versus, being okay with kind of that slow and steady, simple growth mindset. So what would you say to somebody who's looking to find the next Amazon or Uber or Apple?
I'm gonna say I invest like a G, okay, like the OG. And the OG is Warren Buffett, right? So I'm gonna give you a story. So when LeBron James first got into the league, he went to Warren Buffett and he was like, "What do you think I should invest in?" And Warren Buffett was just like, "Just buy the index." And just buy an index fund like a S&P 500, like a total stock market fund. Put your money in there and just leave it alone. And this is somebody who picks stocks professionally. This is Warren G has his wife's all her assets to be invested in index funds for when he passes away, because he knows that the that it's hard to beat the index fund. So
Wait. Did you call Warren Buffett Warren G?
He's the OG.
I was like,
He's
we're
the
talking
OG.
about the
So
same
I
person?
invest
All
like
right,
a
I
G.
wasn't sure.
But yes, I love this. I love the play. I love the play on words. So like when I think about Warren Buffett, of course I'm from California. It's gonna be Warren G. OG. You know.
CJ
Warren
is
B.
now.
Warren B and
Okay,
B
wait.
stands
I
for
need to say
billions.
something about that. So if we're talking about the S&P 500, you're talking about index funds. Essentially, what you're talking about is I'm immediately imagining the craps table. Okay, so look, it's essentially if you are betting and you are playing in the stock market and you're betting, there are safe bets on the outside and there are riskier bets on the inside. And those riskier bets are the ones that your friend is asking Chat GPT about every day, because what they're looking for is something they can buy for less than a penny that's going to go up to 50 cents. That's going to give them a 1000x return on a one-time basis. Short-term gains, buying and selling of stocks, has a very high tax rate. And so that's exactly why Warren Buffett teaches the long game, is because if you are invested for the long term, what you're looking at, you avoid the volatility, and over time, your safe bet compounds, even though it goes up and down. And then, of course, maybe for another episode, we'll have to talk about why Warren Buffett believes in having liquidity during times like this, because he really does go against the grain. But I do think that's a different episode. So does that answer your question, Kalani? Because I was going to move on to another portion of the topic.
Yeah, I think so. And Warren B, he liquidated, he sold off a bunch of his stock, right? Just recently. So that's why you said that.
Hathaway is still one of the top 10 holdings in most index funds. Like, so it's still hella profitable. So just to close things out and to make things simpler, when I say I invest in index funds, I basically buy the whole stock market instead of betting on one. Yeah. And so what that means is if Elon Musk fucks around and does something crazy like he always does and Tesla falls off of the face of the earth, I'm not going to lose all my money, because the next company is going to come in and replace that. So if you look at the top 10 holdings of your most popular index funds, like a total stock market index fund or even a S&P 500 index fund, what companies you're going to see are the top 10 countries in the US, and they are internationally typically the top 10 countries, and they're household names. So I don't just say, oh, Nvidia is hot, I'm going to own Nvidia. I do own Nvidia because Nvidia is like the top 3 country, right? The top 3 business right now. So you're going to see names like Apple. You're going to see Apple, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway, Google, Meta. You're going to see those companies in all of these index funds. And so instead of just going to the store and buy one thing, I have the whole basket collectively. And if something falls out, it's going to be replaced. And so when to talk about like betting is not like a bet. It's more like a reassurance. And when you look at the numbers, you know that it's going to go up. And I teach people how to look at performance and how over time things are consistent. Like one year you might see 20% gains, but the next year you might see a negative 5%. What that means, but over time, being able to look at those numbers. And so that's why it's not betting. And again, to close things up about this, like to wrap things up about this, I always talk about the aggregation of marginal gains. Those little things that you do consistently make a pay way more dividends over time than trying to hit that quick lick. And everybody's always trying to hit that quick lick, but they're not focused on what they can do, the small things that they can do every day. And so that's why it's hella simple. That's why the most millionaires are actually the people that live next to you. Great book, Millionaire Next Door. And actually, if you look at who's millionaires, you'll see teachers at the top, because a long time ago, teachers were made to automatically invest and just stay invested. And so they're always on the list of millionaires just because they don't make a lot of money, but they consistently are forced to contribute over time. So that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's really good information. But just to reiterate, just in the spirit of keeping it simple, is that when you're betting in the index, or when you're investing in index funds in the S&P 500, you're placing a bet that the entire stock market will continue to do well over time. You set it and forget it. This is not where you put money, this is not where your emergency fund sits. This is where the money goes that you're not going to touch no matter what happens, because the golden rule, Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's partner. He passed away. He says that the first rule of compounding interest is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. Very important rule. So the simplicity of it is, if a teacher can become a millionaire or a multimillionaire, and what your takeaway from Nasima's points is that you can set a dollar amount and you can commit to a weekly investment that you can keep up with, that you're never going to touch, and your time in the market is more important than hitting a lick. And if you're not from the East Bay in California, I'm gonna tell you, hitting a lick means winning big on one bet. Okay, we're not doing that. Okay, we need to translate. We're trying to keep it simple today. Jesus Christ! All right, cool. Listen, we're gonna move on. I got this quote I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, Kobe Bryant said, "A lot of people say they want to be great, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve greatness. They have other concerns, whether they're important or not, and they spread themselves out." And that's totally fine, because after all, greatness is not for everybody. So I thought about Kobe because I don't think there's a greater person that has spoken on the topic of the fundamentals. Why do we complicate things, right? Why do we make it so difficult? And that's because sometimes the best example I ever use is when you're trying to invest. You want to buy a house, you want to do something you've never done before. It's like walking into a room with a huge pile of laundry. You don't know where to start. So you're like, screw this, I'm going to buy a new outfit, and that's how we approach it, right? And like, we got to stop doing that. We really got to stop doing that, because all we had to do was separate the dark from the light and just take a break, put on a movie, and start the laundry, and just simply get through the process. So the fundamentals are important. And Jade, I really want to highlight something, because you're really humble. I'm starting to really learn that. I thought it, and then I'm like, okay, no, she's really, really humble, because it's kind of like a rapper that takes their career and in the entertainment business and flips it into some sort of thriving business, and they're doing very well. And like, you never know, but then one day over coffee, you find out they own 25 Wingstops or something, right? So you own like a $13 million apartment complex, and you need to talk to us. You need to talk to us about what it took for you. And I'm sure you didn't overcomplicate it. So you decided one day, I've got to transition. I've had a successful career. I've got to transition and I got to start investing. So talk us through that mindset and how you did not overcomplicate it. And you just decided, hey, I'm going to go explore this. And then how did you end up becoming an owner of a $13 million apartment complex, or like 400 units, or whatever it is you got that you're trying to keep tucked? Let us know.
Okay. So mine is going to be actually very simple. I think that sometimes life leaves you with no choice, right? I would love to be able to say that me making this decision to change careers from doing radio to getting into real estate was like, I knew that I was going to do this, but just life happened. And like one of the things you always preach about, Patty, is like, look, you can't sit back and wait for somebody to bring you an opportunity. You have to go get it. Like, we have to grind. We have to operate in excellence. And so I was dibbling and dabbling in flipping while I was on the radio, as you guys know. And so when radio wasn't, like when I decided to leave radio or whatever, in all honesty, you guys, I just had to say, okay, I'm dibbling and dabbling over here. Now it's time for me to step up. Like, if this opportunity has been presented to me, whether it works out or not, we got to go all in. So to make it very simple, it's 133 doors. It is in Texas. So I am invested into an apartment complex. And you ask why? Really, I guess the whole thing is like, why not?
I'm saying, talk us through how you didn't overcomplicate that for yourself, right? I mean, like, that's a big deal. So if someone comes in and says, do you want to be a part owner of this with me? It coming from the real estate world, that might have been an intimidating conversation, right? And how did you avoid overcomplicating it so that you would not, how did you decide to run towards that pressure instead of away from it?
Because Patty, that is such a great question.
I'm learning from you, girl.
Yeah, the reason I say it's a great question because I think originally I did overcomplicate it, and I'm gonna tell you why I overcomplicated it at first, because I didn't think. I'm like, how could I? It's that thing of overthinking. Like, me being an owner of an apartment complex, like, never in a million years. So I almost talked myself out of doing it. Right? I almost talked myself out of, once I realized how much that check was going to be that I was going to have to write. I did almost talk myself out of it, because when you come from a household like that I was raised in, to y'all's point, you have to save for a rainy day, right? Y'all, at the end of the day, I love the Kobe quote you just shared. One of the quotes that I read that kind of was life-changing for me was, you've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. In other words, you can't take it with you, y'all. And this is me literally changing my relationship with money. I love seeing my bank account grow. I love seeing my savings going up, but the money is just sitting there. So yes, somebody did approach me. It was somebody that I trusted a lot, right? And that's another thing. Let's just be clear, y'all. Everybody out here is a guru. Everybody out here has a hustle. Everybody out here say, I got this dope opportunity. Nah, do not give your money to people that are not doing better than where you are, that are not where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So the person actually approached me and said, I do have an opportunity. But you want to know why this person approached me, Patty? Because this is a person that I have been showing up for this person as well when I had no vested interest. When I wasn't making money from them, I supported this person. So when you treat people right, and when you show up for people when you're not getting anything out of the deal, guess what? When they have opportunities, they see you trying, and they will come to you and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Now, I did sit on it for a little bit. I literally sat on it until like the last day that we could write the check. But I decided to invest into this apartment complex because if I'm being real, I wanted my nieces and my nephew and my godsons to know, if I can come from something that is completely opposite of real estate and actually like do something larger than life. Again, the reason why I don't talk about it is because it's still kind of unbelievable to me, Patty. So I don't know if it's a level of humility or like more so just like, is this real? Pinch me. Like, is this for real? Like, is this really gonna happen? So, I went ahead and wrote the check. Now, there's 2 levels when it comes to investing in these, these large multifamilies. Like you can be like a general partner or a limited partner. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm a limited partner. I'm not above today. So my return is probably not going to be as large as a general partner's, but I'm still going to get a return. So let me tell you the strategy that we use with the apartment complex. It was very similar to us flipping properties. So what you can do is go find an apartment complex that is graded more of a CD level. So, the real fancy, nice apartment complexes that everybody wants to live in. They're very modern, very beautiful, and very expensive. Those are your A grade apartments. Well, you kind of, in a sense, take the same strategy that you use in flipping a home, and you go find an apartment complex that's not an A or B. And what we're going to do, and it's the same thing that you guys were just talking about with Warren Buffett. You gotta plan it and leave it. Don't go mess with it. All right. So we purchased this apartment complex, and over the next few years, we are improving the complex. We're improving management. We're improving the facilities. We're doing upgrades. We're making sure that we're getting people in the apartments that are going to also take care of the apartments. Because if you take care of your tenants will take care of you. And then in 4 to 5 years, what we'll do is end up, as the grade level of the apartment complex rises, then you end up selling later on. And that's kind of how you make your money back. So like I say, it's very similar to flipping a house, but it is going from 1 door at a time to 100+ doors at a time, which your return is going to be even greater. So,
and for those that don't know, in the space of multi-unit commercial real estate, that's called a value add opportunity. So if you were purchasing an apartment that's a C class or D class apartment, the investor basically saw an opportunity to capture it at a lower price. So he raised money from a bunch of limited partners. He put that money together and he bought the apartment complex. So with some combination of debt and cash, he purchased it. And now they're going to make minor improvements over time, raise the rents. Just raising the rents by 10% will have a massive impact on the value, especially in combination with rates coming down. So this is an incredible opportunity. So when you're talking about value add, whether you're in the stage of your career where you're a watchdog and you're looking for properties and looking for opportunities, whether you're a limited partner, a general partner, or you're the manager, you're managing this and you're the operator. It doesn't matter what stage you're in. These you can contribute to each part of the process significantly. And I think a limited partner is an amazing position to have, because you really just don't have to deal with the hassle. So if you want to invest in real estate, but you can't afford the time to manage the real estate, a limited partnership is extremely intelligent, because you are putting your money to work. It helps the overall picture and you're seeing the benefit of it, and you can stay in the investment short-term or long-term, 5 years or not. So, and then you can take your earnings and go reinvest them somewhere else. It makes a lot of sense. I'm also a limited partner in a tech fund. So there's a bunch of cool tech guys that do all these wonderful things in Silicon Valley, and I don't know what I'm doing. That's not my world. So I'm a limited partner. I just put money in there every quarter and watch that grow over a 10-year period of time. You don't have to be the main person, right? There's no ego. You don't have to be the one that found the deal. You don't have to be the one that owns the whole thing. You just have to make sure that you're putting yourself in position. Keep it simple. Keep it simple and don't let your ego get in the way of that. Is there something more you wanted to add to that journey?
No, I just love the fact that you said you don't have to be the person up front. You don't have to be the founder. You don't have to. I think that I just had this conversation with someone earlier today. I was on a business, there was a business Zoom call that we had. At the end of the call, you have all these women. When you open up the mic, everybody is now pitching their business, right? Hey, you guys, I own this company. Hey, you guys, I own that company, this, that, or whatever. And even though I thought it was a great platform for people to be able to, to like connect in a sense, what I realized is we now live in a society where everybody has to be the boss. Everybody has to be the founder. Everybody has to be number one. And I really want us to start realizing that you don't always have to be number one. You don't always have to be the creator and the visionary. You can make a lot of money by being the support team. You can make a lot of money by being a limited partner. Like, we have got to stop thinking number one is the only way to become wealthy. It's not. You have a lot of people that are invested in things. Now, Seema, one thing that you said earlier that I loved is you said you're working your 9 to 5. You're working your 9 to 5, but at the same time, you are also allowing the stock market to work for you, right? And so we glorify entrepreneurship so much. And that's why I love the balance of this show, because you allow people to know you can build wealth, you can actually become a millionaire, you can live the life that you want to live and still keep your 9 to 5, which is a gift that you were given years ago. You know, becoming a nurse, which is a lot of work involved in that. So I just want to tell everybody that, like, it is okay not to be the top dog, or to be like, you know, do these massive things all at once. Like, there's a lot of money, a lot of wealth, and a lot of opportunity. And I think that it's a collaboration over the competition thing. Like, a lot of people won't even want to collaborate with somebody if they're not going to be seen more than somebody else. And it's just a crazy world we live in. So yeah, limited partnership is where I'm at right now. Not to say I'll never be a general partner, but that was what I was interested in at the time, because I wanted to also be learning while I'm going. I've never owned an apartment complex before, and I wanted to still be able to pay my bills too. I was scared. So, but guess what? In 5 years, holla at your girl.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of that story. It's so important for people to understand that there's multiple ways to become an owner. There's multiple ways to invest. It doesn't have to be this big mountain that you don't know where to start with. If you can surround yourself with people that you can trust and have good opportunities, you can be successful. My share in this regard is, I posted a long time ago, I get this little $1,600 check a month from a property I bought for $58,000. And I'm so proud of myself when that check comes in. It's probably the most proud check I get. And I get big checks, okay? But that little $1,600 check, though, it makes me really happy. And for the longest time, until my assistant put a stop to it, I like that check to come in the mail. Because when I opened it and I physically touched that little $1,600, I felt really proud of myself, because there was a time where I couldn't buy anything and I wanted to. There was a time during the 2007 and 8 crisis. I never lost any real estate during that time period because I sold my real estate, and I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have sold, and I didn't know better. And so I've lived with that agony for a long time. So I post my little check and I say, you know, all these gurus on Instagram are always posting these big checks, and they want you to come pay them $499 or $297 and scroll down and pay for more. And they want you to do that because they posted that big check, right? And I'm like, listen, I want to advocate for the little checks, because the little checks matter. The little checks are consistent. Those little checks come in, and I'm buying a 3-unit property in Ohio right now for $140,000. I'd rather have 100% of it, $140,000. But guess what? My net income is going to be $1,600. And that net income from after expenses and paying for everything, that net rental income from that property, that's going to pay for my daughter's habits at Sephora that I can no longer handle on my own. Okay. Because I'm tired of that girl. You guys met her. She's very, very needy. So I'm saying, you don't have to do it big. Why does it have to be a $1.4 million investment, right? I do over $100 million of business a year, and I am proudly posting about my $140,000 purchase and my little $1,600 check. Those little checks matter.
Yeah.
It matters. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can keep it very simple. The other one I bought in Texas, it was $58,000, and I did buy that one with cash, and I put a little bit of money into it, and that check is going to come to me forever. I didn't have to go buy the $580,000 property. I was totally fine with the one that I could get, because that net income that I'm getting by keeping it that simple is all mine, right? I'm not spending any more money on a mortgage or an interest or this, that, and that money goes into the bank and it helps me justify some of the other expenses I have no business engaging in. So I'm really proud of that. And I just want you guys to know that you don't have to make it complicated. So that was my share. And I wanted to turn it over to Kalani, because I think, Kalani, you engage in one of the most powerful activities that I've seen since I met you on Clubhouse. We don't talk enough about how important it is, or how impressive it is, that Kalani was able to take a little bit of buzz, as she took a little 15 minutes of fame from Clubhouse, and she took it off the internet, off the socials. She's not even posting on social. She doesn't even like my posts and stuff. She don't even commenting, and she's just too busy for us on social media. But, you know, she took that little 15 minutes of fame, we'll call it that, and she took her time on that platform, created impenetrable relationships that you're observing right here in front of you, on top of many others that you don't have the pleasure of seeing. And she's created an impeccable community. And in that community, there becomes opportunities. Now you and Jade are doing something great. You've taught me things I would have never done. My webinar would not have existed without Kehlani Blackwell. The show would not have existed. So talk to us about the simplicity of consistency, right? You're not walking around here telling us that you bought $10 million buildings. The compounding interest of the deposits you're making through consistency in your community are probably hard for you to quantify right now. Those are the immeasurable things, but I don't think you see what's happening and how you're going to wake up in about 5, 7 to 10 years and see the fruits of your labor in a way that you probably can't even see right now. So talk to us about what keeps you consistent. How do you show up with integrity on a regular basis to be able to create and maintain relationships over a long period of time? That's a really important factor.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. It's funny that you say that, because when Jade and I were at lunch prior to going to your event last week, we were just having the conversation about the fact that I don't think on social media people don't even know a fraction of what my skill set or professional capabilities are, because I'm actually really bad at social media and she's helping me with that. So, but you make a really good point. Some of the most valuable things do not have a very obvious measurement. And that doesn't make it not valuable. That would be the difference between branding and marketing, right? That would be the difference between doing something to create a measurable revenue return versus brand awareness. And so I think, to answer that question more directly, how do I show up consistently? My first answer is, I am powered by a source greater than myself. I don't know where I get the energy to do half of what I do. Like right now, we have an event coming up in just a couple of days, and every detail lives in my head, and I can only delegate so much. I can only ask Jade for so much help and our team for so much help. The rest of it lives in my head, and I'm powered by a battery that is plugged into a source way bigger than myself, because I'm doing the thing that I was created to do. So, I think there is something about something authentic that people can sense in me in particular when we meet, because I don't, not to say I don't have imposter syndrome. I think that comparison kind of creeps in here and there, but I definitely don't try to be anybody that I'm not. So that's the number one thing. And I feel like that we embody that very thing on this show. We're not about the gimmicks and the likes. We haven't even really promoted this thing. We get on here every week just to practice and get better. You know what I mean? And so what is going on here? Sorry, guys. There we go. Got some echoes, but so, I don't know if I'm answering the question well, but I think that creating relationships or being a human is what people can relate to. And that's why I've been able to create such solid relationships. The second thing is there's just a couple of non-negotiables, things that I just don't believe in, and things that I won't succumb to. And that is peer pressure. I don't do shit I don't want to do. I don't care who asks me, you got to be Jesus yourself to come down here and tell me what the heck to do. That's number one. And he's coming. That's number one. Number two is, I don't think that, I just don't participate in things that undermine my integrity. So that's the second.
That's important. I want to reframe this just a tad bit, because I think Nasima, if I'm looking at us right now on the screen, there's a spectrum. And I think Nasima does an outstanding job of explaining to us how the trust that we build with ourselves is so important, right? I feel like Nasima is like, I'm looking myself in the face. I'm walking through this fire. I'm going to create this wealth. I'm going to be debt free, and I'm going to do this. And you've like everything you say, Nasima, teaches me that I need to strengthen the relationship I have with myself, keep the promises that I make to myself. And I'm looking at Jade and I, and I'm like, we're great with the communities that we've built. Our relationships bring us a lot of opportunities, and we have created that over time. We are about 5.5 minutes older than you, and we have had a little bit of time. We know a lot of people, and we've leveraged those communities in such a way that's helped our businesses grow, right? And then what you're doing is you are also, showing the world what it means to come as a younger, newer person, right? You took an opportunity and you created a network. So what I'm asking you is, how powerful is this consistency? How do you show up consistently, right? You're now creating another event. You've created multiple public events where you're bringing lots of people that are worth a lot of money to share information in a community. When you call, they show up for you. That panel is extremely impressive, right? So what do you think that you could teach people about being consistent, right? You get a moment, you hit a lick on socials, right? You got something going, you go viral. How do you take that moment, that one moment of success, and turn that into going on 4 years of creating opportunities for yourself, for others, and for the people that you're putting on the panel by creating these sort of events? You're talking about people that are managing and operating over $1 billion worth of multifamily. You're talking about people that can walk into a room and raise $500 million by just penciling something on a napkin. You're talking about people that have failed significantly and have risen to high levels of their career. We're not just talking about your local realtor. So talk to the people about what it takes to create trust within those relationships that gets them to show up when you call.
And can I jump in real fast? Not only about creating the trust with the relationships, like Kaylani, literally what you've done is, and I know the music industry, so people will have a one hit, right? And then that's it, because they did not leverage relationships. They did not understand, how do I take this moment and literally build a career off of it? A Lil Nas X was one of the best examples of this. You had this one stupid little song that went viral, but we've all seen people that have gone viral, and after that time is up, that time is up. How did you literally build trust with the community that did not know you before, one? And how did you stretch 15 minutes into 4 years? What does that look like? Because that's incredible to do. Most people cannot do that. After that little heat goes out, it's like we never saw them again. But girl, you are doing it for real.
Yeah. Well, so, to answer your questions about, my personality about in navigating this is one thing. How I've applied that to business is another. So before I explicitly answer that question, I want to add some perspective. Going viral was an accident. I didn't mean to. I think a lot of people that go viral are trying to go viral, right? I wasn't making content in excess. I wasn't trying to do any of those things. I went viral because for years prior to that, I had been in the trenches, thugging it out, working really hard, honing my skills and becoming an excellent real estate professional, right? That is real. And so I think when people tend to discount is, I went viral on an app called Clubhouse for a little bit, and it was all of it, and just as many people did. I wasn't the only one. There were a lot of early adopters that we saw on that platform that got crazy traction and fumbled that bag because all they were trying to do was get some followers, get some likes, sling some courses, sell some stuff. We didn't have anything to sell before. She doesn't have a single thug bone in her body. I'm crying. We're on TV and on YouTube. But no, dead ass. But no, seriously, I wasn't trying to go viral, right? And so a lot of people did, and a lot of people were trying to just make money and capitalize in that moment. And a lot of people did, and guess what? All the money that they made at that point is gone now. The market is cycling, right? Now you had to reinvent. You had to figure out how to market for real. How do you sell real products?
Exactly what I wanted you to say.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got there.
You didn't sell. You didn't take the opportunity to hustle anybody. Yeah.
Right. And so I think because of that, and also being sophisticated in my lane, I was able to speak the language. And because when I approached people, I wasn't at them trying to get anything from them. I was there adding value. And so all I have done in the last 4 years is figure out how to continue to add value to people, add value to people, add value to people, add value to them. And that's why people pick up the phone when I call. Every single person that I asked to come speak at this event, they answered my phone call. They said yes, and I'm not paying them. Not a single one. They're coming out on their dime just off the strength of the relationship. And that's because I use my platform to add value and reciprocate things. And so this human currency that we have, this energetic human currency that we have, this well of endless creativity and energy I have around improving this industry. I don't know where that comes from, but I think from a consistency standpoint, when you, it's like packing a snowball, right? I teach this in Wire all of the time. When people are getting their businesses established, you're packing a snowball, right? You're grabbing some snow off the ground, you're making this little snowball, and you're trying to make it bigger. You got to put it on the ground, you got to roll it, and you got to let it accrue, right? You got to let it grow. You have to let the snow gather and let the snowball grow and let it roll. I'm at a point now, if I don't get out of bed, shit's not getting done. I don't have a choice but to be consistent because I have integrity. I care about my brand. I care about my members. I care about the professionalism, the excellence. I care about their success. And that's not the authenticity of that is not something that can ever be recreated. So I know we're running out of time here and I don't want to get on this soapbox too much, but I think you guys were making a really, really, really good point about kind of GPs and LPs. And my goal is to make enough money and to invest so strategically that I only have to ever be an LP. What y'all get messed up is that like the rich people, the $1 billion that we're calling on the phone to be at this event this weekend, those people are LPs, right? They understand, they got their thing, they do their thing, but they're not out here trying to be the person in front. They're the people here making those machines run for other people who are the people out front. Right. There's levels to this. There are levels to this and we are not all the same. So I think in Jade's point, when she said, don't invest in somebody that isn't better in a better position than where you are or whatever the case may be, every single part from what Nasima said to what Jade said to what Patty said to what I am saying right now, all of these things are heavily contingent on, yes, keeping it simple, but more importantly, your authenticity and the relationships that you build in that process. And we're all here. We're going to tell you, you vet every opportunity, whether it's joining my community or coming to my event or investing in a Jade and Kaylani fund or a built-in investment or a Patty Goodspeed joint venture or having her do your loan or joining Nasima's webinar and her mentorship on how to invest. Every single thing is going to require you to do your research. And you have to understand that you don't know everything. You're not going to know all things, but you need to know enough. And you need to know enough and you need to be consistent. And you also need to keep it simple.
Have anybody have you guys seen that meme where Draymond is in Steph's face and he's like going like this and he's like, oh, you need to you know which meme I'm talking about? I know some of the Warrior fans out there know what I'm talking about, but that's what Kehlani does for people. I think it's important that you understand something. And that is that one of the reasons why people show up for you is because they believe in you. And for those of you who are listening who are
in the chat.
For those of you guys that are watching, for people who are watching that are at the beginning of their journey, starting to build a community earlier on in their career, early into building something, the reason why that consistency matters is because that's how people believe in you. When you do what you say you're going to do, people are going to believe in you and they're going to show up for you. So don't forget to keep it simple and don't overcomplicate things. It's really just as simple as making small deposits, believing that you can run towards the pressure. In this community, we dissolve the idea of imposter syndrome, we run towards it. And buying the small house if you can't buy the big one, or just continuing to show up for people and creating opportunities for others. Keeping it simple and being consistent is the best way to grow your network, which will eventually grow your net worth. And that's all I got for y'all today. Today, the show was on point.
That's what she said.
One more thing to what you said. That's what your Rich Connections event was all about. The reason why you're able to be and do the things that you do is because of the rich connections that you've made. Those relationships are so important. If you're doing something or trying to connect with somebody because it looks like you can get rich quick, guess what? It's probably a hustle. Don't do it. Like everybody on
don't do it.
Yes. Build
don't do it.
Yeah.
And long-term ones, you know what we realize, I think all of us have had this realization at some point that we're in this process of continuously just throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? And seeing what sticks. This is a long-term thing. So how, 15 minutes had turned to 4 years is that you just didn't quit. You keep throwing spaghetti at the wall. You keep finding those connections. You keep improving your investments. You keep tweaking your strategy. You keep finding ways to improve. And before you know it, you look back and per Will Smith's book, you've built a brick wall by laying one brick every single day.
Yeah, none of us really know exactly what we're doing. Don't be fooled.
Girl, at all. I don't know
it out.
nothing.
We're figuring it out. We're reiterating every day.
Perfect. Well, we are at the end of our time, ladies. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Patty. Thanks for showing up all the way from San Tropez.
Yeah.
And I know it's like 2 a.m. there now. You kept it. You thugged it out for us. We appreciate you, Jade. I will
keep me busy so I can stop shopping. It's a problem. It's a problem.
No problem. And then you're gonna get that VAT tax back when you get. You're actually shopping on a discount. So go ahead and keep doing.
You're right. You're right. See, that's why.
Girl math. Girl math. That's exactly what it is. And Nathima, when's your next webinar? Can you please share it with me so I can share it in the Wire community?
It'll let me look at the date. It's going to be not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that. And I'm going to be doing the Investing for Kids one. So the Hella Simple Investing, but Investing for Kids on the 17th. So I will start promoting that soon. But I hope to see you guys there.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
I'm excited.
All right, ladies, it's been a wonderful day. I'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Again, if you're in Dallas this weekend, pull up on us. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Yay.
Yeah,
Bye.
Claudia. Bye, y'all.
Bye.